We are live. Good evening, everyone. We are live on Facebook.
हरी हरी वसुंधरा नीला नीला ये गगन नीला नीला ये गगन हरी हरी वसुंधरा पे नीला नीला ये गगन कि जिस पे बादलों की पालकी उड़ा रहा पवन दिशाएं देखो रंग भरी दिशाएं देखो रंग भरी चमक रही उमंग भरी कि किसने फूल फूल पे किसने फूल फूल पे किया सिंगार है कौन चित्रकार है ये कौन चित्रकार ये कौन चित्रकार है तपस्वियों सी है अटल ये पर्वतों की चोटियां ये सर्प सी घुमेरदार घेरदार घाटियां वजह से ये खड़े हुए वजह से ये खड़े हुए है वृक्ष देवदार के दरीचे ये गुलाब के बगीचे ये बहार के ये किस कवि की कल्पना किस कवि की कल्पना का चमत्कार है ये कौन चित्रकार है ये कौन चित्रकार ये कौन चित्रकार है कुदरत की इस पवित्रता को तुम निहार लो इसके गुणों को अपने मन में तुम उतार लो चमका लो आज लालिमा चमका लो आज लालिमा अपने ललाट की कण कण से झांकती तुम्हें छवि विराट की अपनी तो आंख एक है अपनी तो आंख एक है उसकी हजार है कौन चित्रकार है ये कौन चित्रकार ये कौन चित्रकार है थैंक यू सो मच थैंक यू सो मच
थैंक यू सो मच मधुकेश जी बहुत सुंदर गाना बहुत वेरी नाइस और आई एम अनिला रामपुरिया वेलकमिंग एवरीवन टू आवर ब्यूटीफुल म्यूजिक वेरांडा और सभी का तहे दिल से स्वागत है इस बहुत सुंदर म्यूजिक वेरांडा में। और मधुकेश जी, while you were singing, तो मैं विजुलाइज कर रही थी, आई वाज विजुलाइजिंग द इमेंस पावर ऑफ क्रिएटिविटी ऑफ द यूनिवर्स। इसने इतना सुंदर यूनिवर्स बनाया है, यू नो, एंड it must have taken billions of years and so much of perseverance of universe to create this magic. So it is our responsibility, it is our prerogative to conserve, to save, to respect this beautiful universe. And this is the message, big message of Music Veranda: sustainability, simplicity, and being minimalistic on this beautiful day. So and also this is the message of Music Veranda and Jaya Mehta. And today we are here to share this big message through a talk, Jaya Mehta Talks. A big welcome to everyone at the show, and let's have a round of applause for Jaya Mehta Talks. So Music Veranda, a little about Music Veranda. सूरज की गर्मी से अपने को तपा रहे हैं और इस दुनिया में सुकून, खुशी और जॉय बढ़ता रहे, इसीलिए हम म्यूजिक वेरांडा और चौपाल बना रहे हैं। म्यूजिक वेरांडा एक पहल है, रूह से और दिल तक का सफर है। एंड म्यूजिक वेरांडा, टू बी प्रिसाइज, इट्स एन इनिशिएटिव दैट वी टुक इन क्वारंटाइन टाइम्स टू टेक द हीलिंग पावर ऑफ म्यूजिक एंड कनेक्शन टू मेनी। एंड टुडे इट हैज बिकम a hub of lot of soul lovers, soul loving people, music lovers, moment lovers, and life lovers. So that is what Music Veranda is. And a little about जया मेहता जी। जया मेहता जी, शी इज ऐसी शख्सियत है कि ये थोड़ी सी बात करती हैं तो उसका असर यहाँ तक होता है। So that's what she creates. She creates an inspiration. She connects people, and that is why everybody at Music Veranda is so fond of her. She's a poet, she's a dancer, and she is like she's collated and combined these two forms beautifully, dance and poetry. And the first time I saw her performance at Bikaner House, and I was so mesmerized by her performance. So thank you, Jaya ji, for creating this. She's a big endorser, she endorses creativity, and that is why she has created this show, Jaya Mehta Talks. And today she'll be talking about investing in creativity. And a few slides I would like to show that will endorse what I have said about Jaya Mehta ji. So wait, just give me a minute. So that's Jaya Mehta, the gorgeous dancer. And yes, a few more pictures about her. And I'll keep sharing it as the program proceeds. So thank you. She's a mother of 2 children, and she works very hard towards parenting. So that's one thing I always admire about her. So, and today's a special show क्योंकि हमने आज 3 कॉन्टिनेंट से और 4 कंट्रीज से एक्टिवली पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं शो में. एंड आई डोंट नो, देयर विल बी लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु आर लॉगिंग इन फ्रॉम different countries. So thank you, and over to Jaya Mehta in this talk. Jaya Mehta Talks. Over to you, Jaya ji.
Hi, Anila. This is indeed very special and very beautiful a moment. Namaskar and welcome everybody. I'm super excited to start today with this new show, a new show which still talks about the stuff that we are most passionate about, which is creativity. But it's so beautiful to be here at Music Veranda and doing this. And the reason why I say this is because, you know, when we were kids, like Anila says, our houses used to have verandas, you know, like a little patio. And the veranda means a spot where you come together with friends, with family, with uncles and aunts and cousins. And, you know, somebody's chit-chatting, somebody's having a plate of pakoras. And, you know, you would hang out with each other. And suddenly now we have all these, you know, in the big cities, we have all these big buildings and the veranda's gone. Instead of a veranda, we have a parking. So where are the verandas? So it's so fantastic that Anila and, you know, the whole team of Music Veranda have created this veranda where we all get together and have some gupshup, some chai, some, you know, conversation, some music and art. And creativity kya hai? What is creativity? Creativity is nothing but a dialogue. It's a conversation. अपने आप से भी कुछ conversation, कुछ दूसरों से भी conversation, but है तो conversation ही. It's a dialogue. बाहर भी जाएं तो nature भी एक conversation ही है. आपसे कुछ conversation कर रही है. वो भी बहुत बड़ा veranda है. ये हमारा एक छोटा सा veranda है. एक digital veranda hai, but it's still so beautiful that we can be here and we can share so much with each other. And that's the momentum in which we want to keep up with, which we want to go with today. And today is a very special day because I would say that in my family, there are a lot of business people. So business, money, economics, investment is the buzzword, startups, etc., etc. And then I think of it when I hear everybody talk. Yeah, when you were small, mommy said, exercise every day. It's good for your health. It will pay off in the long run. And then maybe uncle, your dad said, save some money, save your pennies every day. You're going to be saving enough money, you will be safe and secure when you're older. So definitely we learned our lessons. Somebody in the stocks and somebody in their accounts, we learned to save, we learned to plan long term. We wanted that big investment. And my grandmother said, oh, grandchildren are a bonus. I said, bonus? She said, yeah, children are the investment, grandchildren are the bonus. I said, okay, that's another view. And now that I think of it, for me, one of the most beautiful things to think of is, what about investing in my own artistic self? Because my artistic self is in conversation. It is talking to me, to my inner voice. So why not spend a little bit time with myself? Maybe when I was small, I learned that quite early. And I will say that a lot of my wonderful artist friends are just phenomenal at it. I mean, the way they have invested themselves in their art forms right from they were small, and they don't stop at one. They are greedy. They invest in many art forms. So two such fantastic people join us together, and we are going to talk to them about creativity, full on bindas. And the most interesting thing about both of them, I feel, is their roots. They're all rooted in India in some way or the other, from one generation or from 3 generations back. At the same time, they all have a beautiful voice. They have a voice. They want to express something. उनके दिल में कुछ है जो shape up हो रहा है, जो beautifully express हो रहा है, grow हो रहा है, expand हो रहा है. And they don't shy away. They don't shy away from what they want to create. And they don't need to conform. So I want to welcome 2 such beautiful people. And एक बात और बता दूं, the most interesting thing when I look at them is, both of them have a compelling need to draw. जब मौका मिले draw. अगर office meeting चल रही है, let's draw. If you're standing in a queue at a supermarket, let's draw. They're drawing everywhere. There is always a pen, there's always a notepad, there's always some lovely sketch pen out there, and something is halfway done, something is incomplete. And I find that so fascinating. So without ado, I want to welcome my first guest, a phenomenal woman whose books are so fantastic that I am all here to launch them in public. But yes, let us welcome Sayanthini Dasgupta. Sayanthini, are you here with us?
Absolutely. Although ever since you mentioned the plate of pakoras in the veranda, that's off, because I'm so perpetually homesick for Delhi and Delhi food that now I think I have sort of gone outside of the interview a little bit, and all I am fixating on is pakoras and chai and wondering where those are coming from. So that's where I'm very much here with you.
I know the pakoras and chai are like still waiting. But before that, I'll read for you some lines I read, which suddenly reminded me, of your work, your perseverance. But this is in Hindi. So to give you a little Hindi treat, one of my favorite Hindi poets, Kedarnath Singh. इस कविता का नाम है शब्द. ठंड से नहीं मरते शब्द, वे मर जाते हैं साहस की कमी से. कई बार मौसम की नमी से मर जाते हैं शब्द. और कवि कहते हैं, अब शब्दों से मिलने पर हो ही जाता है पूछा पेखी. अब मैं जान गया हूं उनके छिपने की बहुत सी जगहें, उनके बहुत से रंग मैं जान गया हूं. मसलन मैं जान गया हूं कि सबसे सरल शब्द वे होते हैं जो होते हैं सबसे काले और कथई. सबसे जोखिम भरे वे जो हल्के पीले और गुलाबी होते हैं, जिन्हें हम बचा कर रखते हैं अपने सबसे भारी और दुखद क्षणों के लिए। और इसी तरह केदारनाथ सिंह शब्दों के रंग फैलाते हैं, and he weaves these beautiful colors with his words. Sayanthini is another amazing writer like that, and writers across languages, across forms, are playing such a beautiful festival of Holi with their words. They weave such beautiful stories, they weave such beautiful movies with their ideas, with their imagery. Sayanthini, with her, I have a beautiful long journey, and I will say that from here, New Delhi, born in Calcutta, raised in New Delhi, and a brilliant student at the St. Stephen's, at the Jawaharlal Nehru University, and then onwards, how she made it and went on to pursue creative writing in Idaho, becoming a professor there, and then an assistant professor now at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Sayanthini has written beautiful books, The Fire Girl, essays on India, America, and in between, Women Who Misbehave, which has come up very recently with Penguin. So please check it out. And also a beautiful chapbook about memories of her childhood, a Delhi childhood. And so many beautiful, I don't know, I think zillions and zillions of articles in so many journals, publications, award-winning. I mean, there are so many, what should I say? Let me spell it out more clearly. Finalist for the Forwards Indies Award for Creative Nonfiction. This is for The Fire Girl. And she has had the Pushcart Prize, special mention, a Centrum Foundation Fellowship. She has taught creative writing in India, Italy, Mexico. She's the winner of the season 3 Write India by the Times of India. So now you can imagine what prolific talent Sayanthini has. But I am so curious today to direct my questions towards Sayanthini, and I want to know from you, Sayanthini, how has this journey been? This journey from New Delhi to the US, and finding your words and your expression and your ideas and your voice. How has this been? This journey with words, this journey with ideas.
I think the journey has been, I know the journey has been adventurous, and I think there is no point in any journey if it's not adventurous, if it's not unpredictable. It has also been deeply uncomfortable, and I think that's also been really meaningful about the journey, because if things get too complacent or too comfortable, then we don't really grow. And I think for any kind of art or creativity, there needs to be, a certain amount of friction, a certain amount of conflict. So when I first came to the US to study creative writing, this was back in 2006. But at that time, none of the Indian banks had ever heard of anything called creative writing. So, and I mentioned this because I could not get any, study abroad loans. So all I had at that time was enough savings from my own professional life of about 4 years, which was going to be enough to sustain me for 1 semester at the University of Idaho as a student. And then it was very much like, okay, we'll see what happens, but I absolutely have to study creative writing. I absolutely have to do this. So I quit my job and I came to Idaho with the savings enough for 1 semester. And fortunately, scholarships, etc., worked out, and I did not have to abandon my program after the first semester. But I think that those first 4 months in the US were so valuable in terms of framing me and sort of showing me who I am, what I can aim for, what I must aim for, what I struggle for, so on and so forth. So the journey, I think, has been really good because of that, because of these moments of unpredictability, of not knowing exactly where things are going to be. And I think when you live somewhere, like in my case in the US, so far away from home, and now it's been 15 years of living in the US, but 50% of me is constantly in India. And then when I am in India during vacations or visits, 50% of me is still very much in the US. So it's sort of a weird situation of who am I, what am I writing about, what am I thinking about, because it feels like every thought gets truncated in two different directions. So all of that adds to the unpredictability and I think to the adventure. And along the way, I've been fortunate to visit quite a few places, meet a lot of people. I'm especially grateful for all that I have learned in the teaching of creative writing. I mean, there's of course a lot I've learned as a student of creative writing, and I continue to be a student, of course, but I've also been teaching for the last 12 or so years. And it's fascinating how I never saw myself as a teacher when I was younger. When we were classmates in JNU, I never thought teaching was for me, but now it's like the best thing ever. So all of that has added to the journey and made it interesting and challenging and problematic and fun and hopeless at times, but also deeply hopeful. I hope to continue on this journey.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I think of it, you were studying history for a long while for your, bachelor's and your master's, and then you moved to creative writing. So how were you propelled that I have to go for creative writing now, further?
So I have always been a writer in my own head, at least. And the first story I ever wrote was when I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old. And it was a very suspicious blend of Cinderella and Snow White and God knows what else. And I wrote it in this big leatherish, I don't think it was actual leather, but some kind of big fat red journal with a red pen. And I wrote with a red pen because obviously teachers in school wrote everything with red pens. So those were my ambitions that time, to be able to write with a red pen and to grow as tall as my teachers. One of those ambitions got realized. And so I wrote that first story, and I remember we were visiting my grandparents in Calcutta. And at my parents' encouragement, I read out the story to my grandparents, and everybody clapped so hard that I was like, oh, these people need this stuff. I mean, look at how sad their lives were before my story came about and, improved things for them. So I need to keep writing just for these poor souls. This is a gift for them. So I have written always. And of course, things have changed now, and then I know there are creative writing programs in India. But back when we were students, there was no place you could actually go and study creative writing. So history was a really great fit for me. And at JNU, I studied medieval history, as you know, and all of these things were fabulous fits for me. And then finally, when the opportunity came that, wait a minute, I can study this somewhere else. I just need to work very hard to figure out how to get to that point. And then when it happened, it was amazing. But I have known I want to be a writer since I was 6 years old, and I want books with my names on it since then. Along the way, I think other ambitions and plans have come along. A lot of them have also been discarded, but this one has stayed consistent since the time I was 6. So of course, it took a few years from the time I was 6 to actually make Fire Girl happen. But yeah, I stayed with it, and I intend to still stay with it for as long as possible.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. That's such an inspiring story, It's so nice to think, oh, you needed the world to be happy. And it was enough momentum to, keep going since you were so small and invest yourself so heavily in that. And I would so want to share that with all the young kids out there who are so scared to be painters, who are so scared to be, writers, to be dancers. They're still thinking, around the age of 18 that no, maybe I should abandon all of these supposedly, my great talents. But no, I think it's better to take a computer science, or a physics or a math. So I would say, see, we have a fantastic example here, somebody who made it with such beautiful work and who's just full of the rust of life. So you tell me, Anthony, where do you get this rust? I've been going through your books and your words. So where does this rust come from? That quintessential Indian rust, which all of us dancers, musicians, writers aspire for ना, नवरस जो होता है, रस चाहिए हमें, काम में रस चाहिए हमें, जो चीज पढ़ते हैं देखते हैं उसमें रस चाहिए, like मेरे को तो साड़ी में भी रस चाहिए, तो रस तो चाहिए, it's a standard thing, you know, for us. So where do you get that rus from in your words, in your life, वो creative juices, you know, how is it a byproduct of something or is it a part of a process? कैसे चलता है, कहाँ से आते हैं रस शब्दों के लिए?
I think the first and foremost foundation step for that is my family, because I come from a family of very curious, passionate, enthusiastic people. My dad has a fantastic sense of humor. I grew up with that. My grandparents, my paternal grandparents, they both wrote when, well, my grandmother is still here. My grandfather passed away a few years ago, but they were both writers and avid readers. In my childhood, I watched my parents read a lot. My dad is an engineer, but so he's not like a literary, what we think of as a creative artist in that sense, but he's an incredibly creative person in terms of his pursuits with all kinds of electrical gadgets and taking things apart and putting them together. He made our first TV when I was 5 years old. So that kind of stuff that we can create things, and there is great joy and there is great satisfaction in creating things. And now I happen to be married to someone who also loves creating and building. So like, I think nearly several pieces of our furniture exist because he put them together from scratch. And that's where his creativity comes from. We are also a family obsessed with food, which is why ever since you mentioned pakora, that's really all I'm thinking of. And I'm pretending to be this intellectual talking about creativity, but all I'm thinking of is pakoras and some nice chutney on the side. So I think food is another big source of that rus, that delight. And we like people, we like hanging out with people. We're a social family. So I think when you invest in friends and you invest in your relatives, you sort of acquire all these stories over generations. My parents have always been very supportive of all my friendships. And I have my brother who's younger than me, both of us have been sort of allowed and encouraged to have a wide variety of friends. And we grew up with a lot of creative freedom, a lot of independence. So I think all of these things have contributed. And, you know, when, as I said, back in 2006, I decided that I wanted to come here. At no point did anyone try to stop me or voice any questions or, okay, fine. What will you do if your money runs out? I'll come back home or I'll figure something out. You know, it was never a big fear for my family. And I think that fearlessness that I have inherited from them is also part of that rus, or part of whatever, I guess, makes me me.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, for all our viewers, I would love to read out to you a few lines from Sayanthini's book. This is one of my favorites, Fire Girl, Essays on India, America, and in between. And see, I would say the inspiration, one of the great creative inspirations, like she says, family, is her grandmother, Dida. And there is a beautiful little description of her on page 41. Dida's was a life that adhered to its own, sometimes bizarre composition of colors and conditions. She could have single-handedly organized an art exhibition and called it My Way or the Highway. In spite of finding faults with the exhibit, I would have attended. Fierce, feisty, unput-downable women are magic after all, and those like my Didda are impossible to come across twice. So definitely, I would say that, you know, your family is such a fantastic inspiration, you know, just for you to find your juices, to find yourself and, you know, be one with it. Another one where I remember she describes the food. Coming back to pakoras, so since I took you to pakoras, I must say you have got me back to all the Bengali mithai. Not fair, and this I'm reading, and says, Didda would stock up in the fridge with temptations ranging from mango to fish curries and mustard paste and to everything in between. There was partly gudel payesh, a rice pudding cooked with basmati rice, whole milk and jaggery, the coarse brown sugar made from the sap of palm trees. Didda fragranced it with bay leaves and garnished it with raisins. And in my eyes, it shone like gold. There was also malpua, rice, a rich, dark brown dumpling soaked in sugar syrup, and patishapta, rice flour crepes stuffed with sweet coconut filling. I can still taste the Das fish curries. And I can still taste all the food that's running through all of this. It's so beautiful, you know, it's like your roots, your whole Bengali roots, and how richly you experience this. This is so relatable, you know, like often we've had these amazing people in our family who have cooked food which has become more like an association of our childhood, you know, not only the taste buds. And all those associations with childhood, memory, you know, the senses in a very multifaceted kind of way come so alive in this imagery, you know, this beautiful imagery that you've created. It's just fantastic. It's fantastic how you bring and you weave all that in, and the personal and, you know, the universal, everything becomes one. I find that very interesting in your book, especially this one. And even with women who misbehave, you know, the most interesting thing for me was that I could just relate to so much. After so long, you know, when we were small, we used to read those, we used to watch programs like Katha Sagar. And once, after so long, I read a story which felt like a story from that serial, you know, Katha Sagar. And that's in Sayanthini's book, Women Who Misbehave. Check it out. Lovely stories of all kinds of unconventional women, women who think for themselves, women who want to be themselves, women who don't fit into any stereotypes. And here, particularly, I love the reader. And of course, I very much sort of relate to her in that sense that she's a little, although she's a little, little girl, and there's a child marriage, and it's, you know, placed in 1899. But the little girl falls in love with the library in her, you know, in-laws' house. So more than her husband, she connects with the library, she connects with the books, and she's so happy. She says, of course, there's a lot of, you know, conventional stuff, conventional expectations that she lives with. And she says, I remember my mother's warning. What if Nabeen doesn't want a wife with too many ideas? So I thought that was so interesting, you know, I mean, that's the standard thing, you know, you don't want to be a wife, you know, who has too many ideas. But yes, if you are a woman who loves books, you know, if you savor the world of so many people, so many lives and, you know, their viewpoints, then how will you not be a person with ideas? And to find that in such beautiful old story, and the story was so complete. You read it and you felt so whole. I thought that was just simply incredible, because there's very less that you now read stories which feel very whole. So I thought this was, you know, really, really incredible how you could create this in a different time setting, and yet you could bring in someone so relatable, you know, someone who falls for the library. I've had friends, you know, I didn't play much with them, but I definitely sat and read all their books over there. So the mother would also say, Acha, theek hai, come. Yeah, I know you want to sit and read. Come, sit and read. So I know about, you know, trading a relationship for the library. I so much connect with that. It's so incredible how you put that in.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the whole book was written because I feel I wrote this book to meet the needs of the teenage/young adult me who was growing up in India in the 90s. And what I saw in television, or the women I saw in television or in cinema, were so not me, you know. And all of these women who were sacrificing for their fathers or for their brothers or their husbands or boyfriends, and giving up their loves and giving up their professional lives, etc. And whereas I think selfishness is a good thing. I value it. I think if you are not a little bit selfish, you tend to take it out on the people you live with. And I think there is great beauty in taking care of yourself first and foremost, in ensuring that you're honoring yourself, in ensuring that you're respecting yourself and giving yourself the dreams that you have, and sort of making them real. And then you can give generously to others. But if that is stopped, then I think that's really problematic, and it manifests itself, that unexpressed, I guess, rage or dissatisfaction manifests itself in some ways. And I am constantly fascinated by the inner lives of women. And I think when I was in India, I was under the impression, and I think a lot of us are under the impression, that women in the West have it better, not just in the US, but just in the Western hemisphere, women have it better. But now, having lived here outside for about 15 years, I know that the inner lives of women here are just as interesting, fascinating, and often secretive as they are back home. Because what we are allowed to say, what we are allowed to express versus what we have to be in public, these are often very, different. They can be often very different things. So I am fascinated with, as I said, the inner lives of women and what they amount to. So Women Who Misbehave is very much a result of my fascination with these women. And to give, as I said, to give the young adult me this template that you can be as weird and as ambitious and selfish as you want to be. There is space for you in the world. You do not have to be this sacrificial lamb for your family in order to be a good person. There are different ways to be a good person. So the book took me 14 years to write because all these characters needed their time to sort of, cook properly and become who they needed to be. But yeah, I'm glad that the book is out now. So thank you for liking them.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that's the beauty of it, that we discussed that these are women who nourish themselves and then they nourish others as well. So the creative process is also, I think, something in which we really take out that kind of, space and time to nourish ourselves. So of course we have friends who say, "Arey, space kahan hai?" Like we discussed it, time kahan hai? Who has the time for, all of these creative pursuits? So of course, when you're an artist, you dive into it headlong, you take that kind of risk, you invest that much of time. But still, I would say that even otherwise, it's very important to be able to figure out, how you make out that time and where do you put yourself first. And is this creativity a part of your well-being? Is it making something inside you grow? Is there something inside you blossoming? Because we all need that. That's the life force and the rust that, you so enjoy, in your art and processes. In fact, I want to ask you, I've been noticing you do a lot of drawing as well. Sayanthini,
Right.
all of us viewers must see her Instagram posts, and they are all not only about words and books, but also imagery, which she's creating in tons and tons of drawings. So, jab bhi mauka mile, Sayanthini is drawing. When she's in the supermarket, she's drawing. Every day there's a drawing challenge she fixes for herself. It seems like she's going out for a walk in the park and the leaves have inspired her. And with the leaves, she's made a drawing, a beautiful, even colored it in. Or she's drawing the plant life or animal life. Or she's, beautiful. She, as you can see, designs and patterns. And of course, मेरा favorite है एक चाय के ऊपर drawing. उसमें हिंदी के शब्द है और चाय है, तो मुझे लगा इससे अच्छा और क्या हो सकता है, यही चाय टाइम्स. देखिए, चाय टाइम्स ऑल टाइम्स. और इसमें इतने तरह के आइडियाज हैं. जो मेरा फेवरेट है वो कहता है, जनहित में जारी नोटिस, अगर कभी चाय टी कहा या चाय टी लाते मांगा तो चाटा पड़ेगा. I thought that was just so amazing. It's so reflective of our times where we have stopped reading. ये लिखा ना च चाय, तो मैंने कहा अब तो सब भूल ही गए कि हिंदी की वर्णमाला क्या है. बच्चों को स्कूल में ही नहीं पता होता. They're in school and they don't know कि what is the Hindi वर्णमाला. No, they have no idea how it goes. But you actually इतने तरीके से चाय को समझा. एक वो गाना भी है, एक गरम चाय की प्याली दो. So कहीं वो आ गया, कहीं वो हिंदी के वर्णमाला आ गई, कहाँ पे चाय लाते पे चाटा पड़ेगा. I just so loved it. It was so peppered with so many ideas, and how you also brought words there and you brought the images there. And जैसे मैं बोलूंगी, जैसे एक राइटर शब्दों में इमेजरी क्रिएट करता है और आर्टिस्ट जो है, पेंटर जो है, वो विजुअल्स में करता है. म्यूजिशियन साउंड से एक इमेजरी क्रिएट करता है. डांसर कहीं शायद विजुअल और साउंड और मूवमेंट को कंबाइन करके भी एक इमेज क्रिएट करता है. तो योर वर्क वाज सो इंटरेस्टिंग बिकॉज वो सडनली इमेजरी वेंट अक्रॉस द स्पेक्ट्रम ऑफ सो मेनी फॉर्म्स. सो हाउ व्हाट इज दिस ड्राइंग प्रोसेस? ये राइटर ड्राइंग क्यों करता है?
Thank you. So this started because of an Instagram account I came across last October, and this account is called Inktober. I just put that in the chat.
Yeah.
And Inktober is basically this non-profit organization that runs 2 different sorts of drawing challenges. One is a 52 prompt drawing challenge. So they give you 1 prompt per week of the year and you draw in response to that. And the other one, the original one, which started off Inktober, is you get 1 challenge per day, every day of October, and you draw in response to that. So last year when I came across Inktober, just as a fluke, I thought it looked very interesting. And I did the first prompt, which was fish. So I drew a shark, a very happy shark. And you can see in the background, someone's elbow floating away. I mean, it was a cause for happiness for the shark. So that's why I'm smiling, right? And it was just on my phone because I have not drawn as a regular habit in years. You know, I think I had some talent as a kid, but then as happens, you know, you don't get good teachers all the time. So some of your interest falls by the wayside. But then Inktober happened and I drew that fish. And the next day there was another prompt and I was like, okay, I'm going to try this again on my phone. So I did it again on my phone. And then I was like, maybe I should get a drawing book. Let's start there. Let's get a drawing book. Let's get a pen and pencil and those sorts of things. So it literally started with those steps last October. And then we are in this October. I have drawn every day in this last 1 year, every day, even if it's been for 5 minutes, as you said, in a grocery store, I have drawn the person in front of me with their backpack. Or I went for a walk this morning with my husband. I took my drawing book and drew a bed of flowers we came across. So I think it's made me a better person. And that was very essential during the pandemic because art forces you to slow down, right? I mean, you just have to figure out, okay, what is going to be the next brush stroke or pencil stroke? And you are learning, of course, in the process. And because I am such a novice in art, in drawing, painting, etc., there has been such a huge process of learning, of watching teachers on YouTube, of taking courses on Domestika, YouTube, Instagram, all of these places. And these days, of course, we are lucky to have access to so many talented people so easily. So I have taken a lot of classes. I have done a lot of tutorials and challenges and so on and so forth. And I think a lot of it is because, you know, in creative writing, because I teach graduate students, I teach undergraduate students. So I'm someone who is expected to have at least some sense of knowledge about this subject and who is supposed to teach this subject. And that's fantastic. But I think in the process of becoming an expert, I have lost something, you know, I have lost that utter delight that is the hallmark of a student and of someone who is curious to learn something. So I think drawing has brought it back. And through drawing, when I'm doing any kind of a drawing, around the 20th or 25th minute mark of the process, I reach a place of such quiet and focus inside my head that I have not reached with anything else in my life. No amount of writing or reading has ever taken me to that spot inside my head. And it is awesome because it is so quiet and there is no one else, there is no noise. And it's just, obviously it's just me and whatever I'm creating in the moment. And after even half an hour, or if I can go for an hour, that's fantastic. Of whatever time I'm able to spend, I come out of it so much calmer, so much happier, and just that joy that I have spent some time taking care of a very important aspect of myself, which is my head, and I found it, you know, and now I can go ahead and do something else with my life. So this has been really life-changing for me. And I think this is very important, no matter what your main creative jam is, or even if you don't have a creative jam, to pick up something. And I think it'll make you better in your daily life, whether it's your professional life or personal life, or, you know, whatever else you are doing with yourself. But to create anything, even if you suck at drawing or singing or whatever it is, but any creative thing you enjoyed as a kid, and then society took it away from you because of bad teachers or lack of time, or because made bad choices and whatever, but go back to who you were as a 5-year-old and the things you loved then. Bring them back, because that's the core you, that's the real you. And then garbage got added to your personality. But the true you, which was the kid you, if you take care of that person, I think life will be so much nicer.
Oh, that's just so fantastic. I just so loved everything that you said. So please, all of us, let's have a big applause for Sayanthi for celebrating the 5-year-old us. Please, let's not let go of the 5-year-old us, you know, who takes joy in things, who gets so blissed out doing their own little thing. And like Sayanthi said, by the 20th minute, or 25th minute, somewhere between, so precise actually. By that time, suddenly the mind is silent, the heart is silent. And writer ke shabd band ho gaye. Writer ki voices band ho gayi, you know, by drawing. That's amazing, you know, that's just fantastic. So I think that's the power of, you know, just enjoying the juices of just learning, you know, learning anything and just going with it, enjoying the flow of it. And yes, not only to, in the pandemic times, of course, there are people who tell me that, you know, I never did anything with my life. You know, I kept working, I kept making my to-do list, I made things happen. But, you know, now that I think of it, I haven't really enjoyed anything. And, you know, I don't have a hobby. And it's like they've lost out on, they feel like they've lost out on some, you know, really big thing in life. But now that I think of it, you know, maybe it's just the 5-year-old who was enjoying so many things, and that 5-year-old wanted to continue enjoying many of those things. But maybe This is how we, like Sayanthi, we find the time and place, and we make that space to enjoy ourselves. It doesn't have to be the most practical reason for doing it. It doesn't have to support your job or your family or anybody else.
Right. And I'm not at all saying, you know, quit your job or your family and become whatever your 5-year-old wanted to become. But I'm saying that to just give that 15 minutes or 20 minutes of your day to nurturing that 5-year-old. And I think it's mainly because we get so scared of not being perfect in whatever it is that we are doing, right? I mean, that, oh, if I'm drawing something, or if I'm singing, or if I'm making something, it has to be perfect. And I think that's the message we are constantly given, that if it's not perfect, it has no value. Whereas that's not the point at all. Because when a toddler is walking, a toddler is not thinking, acha, if I fall, I'm going to first sit and analyze, did I fall perfectly? And if I did not fall perfectly, I'm going to watch my fall next time and make sure that I time it right. No kid is thinking like that. So if we can honor that, who we used to be, I think, yeah, life is just going to be nicer.
Oh yeah, so fantastic. Thank you so much, Sayanthi. Those were just absolutely amazing ideas, so inspiring, and to get all of our juices going, and for all of us to find out that little space to be selfish, to be self-centered, and to thoroughly enjoy our inner self and our dialogue with our inner self. Because जब तक हम ये dialogue नहीं करेंगे, हम अपने आप से ये conversation नहीं करेंगे, हम खुश नहीं रह सकते. दूसरों के लिए या कुछ बनाने के लिए, कुछ अचीव करने से भी हम खुश नहीं रह सकते. खुशी जो है वो अंदर से हमें अपने अंदर के डायलॉग से मिलेगी. वो डायलॉग के लिए हमें कुछ चाहिए होता है बस, चाहे वो थोड़ा ड्राइंग होता है, चाहे वो गार्डनिंग भी होता है, चाहे वो राइटिंग होता है, चाहे वो डांसिंग होता है, मगर डायलॉग तो चाहिए. बिना डायलॉग के, बिना कॉन्वर्सेशन के वरांडा वाले तो बिल्कुल नहीं रह सकते. But yes, so I like the wonderful world veranda we have. We
Thank you.
Seek the same things, and today we have another wonderful wellness expert and a beautifully trained musician from Germany, Stuttgart, Manisha. Manisha, are you here?
Yeah.
Manisha is here with a wonderful tribute for you, Sayanthini, one of your favorite songs. So I'll, let her take the next stage and sing for you.
Thank you so much, Jaya ji. Good evening, everyone. Hello, Sayanthini ji. Show is going awesome. Actually, creativity is must. और मुझे लगता है कि creativity does not mean कि आपको कुछ बड़ा कुछ करना चाहिए, but it's like कि at least just take some time and think something different. Thank you. तो ये आज का गाना आपका पसंदीदा है and creativity से भरपूर है. मुझे लगता है म्यूजिक एंड पिक्चराइजेशन कुछ भी चीज इस गाने की ऐसी नहीं है जिसमें क्रिएटिविटी नहीं है. हर चीज में क्रिएटिविटी पूरी भरपूर भरी हुई है. सो हियर वी गो. तू बदन है मैं हूँ साया, तू न हो तो मैं कहाँ हूँ. मुझे प्यार करने वाले तू जहाँ है मैं वहाँ हूँ. हमें मिलना ही था हमदम, इस राह पे निकल के ये कहाँ आ गए हम, यूं ही साथ साथ चलते. तेरी बाहों में है जानम, मेरे जिस्म जा पिघलते. ये कहाँ आ गए हम. Thank you so much.
My goodness, what a treat. Thank you. Thank you so much. I loved it. Thank you so much, Manisha.
It's a beautiful song. I also just love his song.
So wonderful. Manisha, thank you so much. And we look forward to hearing more music from you on the show. And at this point, I must say, I also want to really welcome our next guest, who's also multifaceted, full of so much creativity. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. In fact, unke bare mein, I would like to say, definitely, in my mind, I was thinking about it, and I was putting together, of course, artists always fascinate me, but artists in my idea are also like, they're like scientists. They are actually like idea scientists. So, they're working with ideas. So not only an art form and a skill and all of that, but they're investigating an idea. कि अच्छा, ये बात क्या है? What is it really like? And then before you know it, the idea starts taking color, shape, sound, words, imagery. So one such talented woman who is a true idea scientist and who's always looking between so many disciplines and trying to understand her own voice, who always knows how to create, how to think differently, and who is pretty much the kind of woman that Sayanthini is writing about, the unconventional woman, the woman who claims her space, and the woman who finds her way away. All right. And that's Anima Jagro Raisen. Anima, welcome.
Thank you, Jaya.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Anima has come all the way from the Netherlands, and she's right now in The Hague. I would like to, in fact, also share how Anima and I met. So it was about 4 years, 4 years or so back, and we worked together on this beautiful production. It was called the Swayam Coach. In the Swayam Coach, we actually brought together not only Odissi and Kathak, the dance forms that we did, we also worked on some poems, some ideas. And what I actually found with Anima was the Sakhi. It was the friend within, it's the voice within. So what was beautiful for me now that I look back is that in our dances, we were actually mirroring not only Kathak and Odissi, we were mirroring each other's inner voice. And the dance was sort of just beautifully complementing and illustrating that. Not only that, Swayam Coach then further went on to trigger a Swayam Coach within us also. And I went on to find my poems, and the book of dance poems came forward after as a result of this whole process. And I wrote the poetic sari, made a dance production on that. Anima further went on to create so much. And I mean, some of the visuals, if you see, Anima is anyways a multi-talented person who's also a dancer who goes into many spectrums, who's also taken up Kathak, such a beautiful traditional dance form. And how she managed to sustain that practice while living in the Netherlands, how she came upon it, that's itself amazing. And then her henna art, how she develops her henna art, it takes on so many different forms. I've seen it on the floors of beautiful festivals. I've seen it on not only people's hands, I've seen it on women's bellies. I mean, her art pretty much just goes everywhere that it wants to. It takes its own shape and form. It takes its own places. And it cannot be contained, if I may say so. This is one of her beautiful designs. Of course, she's incorporating a lot of buildings and thoughts and ideas into her henna art. And now the henna art and the dance form and her, this is one of my favorite designs where the ghungru has also come into the henna. So the dance and the mehendi pretty much cannot be separated from each other anymore. They are totally wedded to each other. So the color and the sound and the movement are all playing with each other. And that's Anima's very individualistic sort of voice. And that voice we also saw in a very interesting film made lately in the Netherlands called Umar. And I want to talk about all of that. But yes, other than the visuals we see, we would like to hear from Anima. Anima, please tell us something about your beautiful Indian roots and this whole connection of India and Netherlands, which plays out so amazingly in your life. Please tell us.
Okay, wow. Thank you so much, Jaya, for everything and your amazing introduction. And it's so lively. So it's really catching on even through Zoom. I'm born and raised in the Netherlands. And I'm of fourth generation Indian, second generation Suriname, and Dutch descent. So what I want to say with this is that my mother, who is born in Suriname, her grandfather was born in India. And to show you just the journey that half of my family actually had to undertake to come into the Netherlands. And that is, to be honest, not a very happy story. It's a story of colonialism. It's a story of indentured laborship, in which people from India, mainly from Bihar, but I found out that one of my Pernana, he came from Punjab. They traveled from India to Suriname under very poor circumstances, and they had to live and work in Suriname under very, very poor circumstances. And I sometimes still trying to search for words of the horror that happened there. So I'm very sorry to tell this as well, but I think it's a very important part of our history as a diaspora. And I think it's also a very important part of the art I'm making now, diving deeper into this history of indentured laborship, and also trying to find how to deal with the emotions that you experience while living in the Netherlands. Because even though my father is a white man, he is born in the Netherlands. Actually, my face is not, people relate it a lot to Punjab. So of course, there's a little bit of that in as well. But if you put the picture of my father next to me, then it's actually copy paste. So but the white part of me is never really recognized here, so in the Netherlands. So when I was searching how to deal with these emotions and how to find yourself and understand what is really happening around you, like why are people not seeing my white side, then you start searching for something, how to deal with that. And I dealt with it by, okay, so society decided that I am a woman of color. Fine. Then I'll show them what this woman of color is. I'm of Indian descent, I'm of Suriname descent, and I'll educate you about our history, because even today, people do not know about Suriname Indian community. And they still think that India is not a part of Dutch history, which is, of course, not true, because it is. People are saying, as a result of when we try to show the film Umat, there was this online Facebook discussion like, oh, they're saying Indian descent. Well, probably they're wrong. Probably they mean Indonesia, because the Netherlands have no relation with India. And then it's like, wow, okay. So for some people, this whole history doesn't even exist. And I found it very important to tell people and educate people about it. So when growing up in Middelburg, and Middelburg is also the city which had quite a share in the slave trade, in the Dutch slave trade, I started to show people the culture I was growing up with, which my mother was telling me about, was teaching us. So we did all the pujas. We also celebrated Diwali and Holi. Those were the main holidays or holy days. And I started to speak in school, in primary school, about it as a child. So I was like, okay, so this is what we call a diya, and this is how you light the diya. And so, okay, that was a nice experience. And I noticed in hindsight that I was always searching to create places to share. And not only for myself, but also for other people. So when I was studying in Vlissingen, a place near Middelburg, we decided in our educational program to have cultural days. And I was one of the students who was a little bit more involved in those activities as well. So I said, okay, fine. So then you already had a Turkish day, you already or Turkish week, a week about Indonesia. Let's have this Indian day now. So I called up all my friends, which I knew from the bigger cities, and they came. And there was this fashion show. There were lectures about the different kinds of religions in India, and so people would have not the stereotype idea of what India is or what Suriname is. And by doing that, I also created spaces for myself to perform. So that is where Nimbuda actually also comes from, because since I organized the Indian Day, it was one of the first songs, again, after a long time, I performed. Because growing up with Bollywood, I taught myself Bollywood dances. So Nimbuda was the first Bollywood dance I did en public. And it was such a nice song. And within that song, there is also a little bit of Kathak. So that was just a little seed was planted. But it took a few years before I actually took up Kathak. Also in that same period, I was drawing a lot, also since childhood onwards, actually. And first it was drawing, and then later on it became mehendi, because the mehendi in the Netherlands was also not widely available. And since I was living in a smaller town, we also had to go to the big city to actually get supplies, to get the fruits and the foods and everything. So also later it became getting the mehendi as well. So yeah.
But I think Kathak was one journey which also took you all the way to India, right? If I'm right.
Exactly.
So you
Yes.
actually traveled across continents to look for something. Search.
Yeah.
It's again the search for the self.
Exactly. So after this Bollywood journey I had, I was like, yeah, but I dance, but nobody is training me. And what are these techniques that I need? Because still my dance looks different when I look at other dancers who are trained more professionally. So first I went to the bigger city to study there, and I just learned a modernized form of flamenco. And flamenco took me to Kathak. So I was seeing the similarities between flamenco and Kathak, and the stories which are portrayed in Kathak, they resonated much more with me because I grew up with them than within flamenco. So I decided, okay, let's go and try and see and explore Kathak. What is this art form? What is this dance? Because anyway, I love to dance. And in the Netherlands, there was not much to learn Kathak rigorously. And I was like, okay, but when I finish my master's, I'll do this Kathak and I'll dive into this world of dance. So that was
people, sorry to interrupt, but most people do their MA and they're ready to dive into a job. And in your case, you were ready to dive into dance.
Yes.
I like that dive. Deep sea dive.
Yes. And a very important aspect, just dive into it, after. And the thing is that it's always there, this creative spirit or this artistic spirit you have, and it's always craving, but we stop listening at it at one point because you try to do everything according to some kind of norm, but who decides what this norm is? No. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not going to work now or it's dancing. It has always been dancing. So I want to dance.
You were never meeting people who were telling you, okay, but you don't have time for this, and you possibly can't, spend so much money going looking for this, because creativity is also like an investment. People say, hey, I don't have time to spend on this. I don't have the money to put into this. I'd rather do other things, with my resources. So what about you? Did you deal with that?
Yeah, I worked and I saved my money. And luckily, for the first time I went to India, my parents were also there because it was also my graduation present. So they said, okay, now you can dance, you have your master, just do your thing, and then you go back to work. But actually, from that point onwards, it has been a double life. So it has always been work, but it has always been art. And then I started to think, okay, what am I doing? Because it's taking so much time, everything, and so much energy. So I decided, okay, how do I want to spend my time on this earth? Because I value my time more than money. And then I said, okay, I'll go and work part-time and invest more in my art.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's such an incredible line that you said, that I value my time more than my money, because time is all we have. And I think the pandemic has taught us that more than anything else, that, more than all our resources and more than all our achievements, basically we have time.
Yes. And it's not about having time, but it's also about making time and setting your priorities. And you have to claim it, because it's not a given. Otherwise, this whole system will just lock you up again. And you do whatever you're supposed to do, but you can be a bit resilient and say, no, I also have to be, I have to have my spaces to be Zen. I have to have the spaces for me personally, it was either to be Zen and happy and make beautiful flowers in the mehendi, or it was being angry because there's also some, yeah, I also have those emotions by not being recognized always in this society as the full me as I am. So that is another part of the art. And another part of my identity, of course, is where these beautiful stories from India come from, and be in the land with the temples, with the Yamuna, with and see and feel the art and the stories in a very different way.
So for you, I think that again, the identity aspect becomes very important, right? In your creative process, you find your identity. It's your identity is connecting. Your questions, your ideas about your identity is a very strong drive to take you forward with your creative process.
Yes, and yes, and in that sense, I would like to say that my identity is not a fixed construct or something, because I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. It's changing bit by bit, because life happens, so you change. And that means that you're constantly reflecting upon yourself and your relation to the world and to other people, and that is something which makes life so interesting and exciting and difficult, but it's also a way of living differently than you were taught.
Yes, I find that very interesting actually, because with I know that for sure with you, I mean, for somebody who's gone ahead and had a really difficult time searching for their right teachers and gurus and classes, and then gone on to create your own dance school in Netherlands, teaching, I mean, taking our art forms and then teaching them in the Netherlands. I mean, hats off, in fact, for your dedication, because I know there are very few artists like that, who can actually transfer so much of energy and color and creativity, I mean, across continents. It is so difficult. I mean, hats off completely to you for that. And just the fact that, I mean, when you're dancing, you can transfer that joy, it's also that pure joy that is within you. I mean, that can be transferred when you're dancing on stage and you're passing that on to another generation. I think that's also incredible. And your search for yourself, it's never ending. Like you said, Swayam Coach, which we created together. Swayam Coach का idea यही था कि अपने आप को ढूंढना है, अपने आप से बात करनी है ना, हमें अपना, we need a dialogue with ourselves, and that dialogue shouldn't end. Even what Sayanthini was saying, her dialogue was with her family, with her, childhood, her time in India, and your dialogue, how it keeps shaping, how it keeps evolving, changing, it's like a beautiful kaleidoscope. And of course, kaleidoscopes also don't come easy. Like you said, I love that. Claim your space. Space banani padti hai, claim your space, claim your time, and, claim that these are my resources. I'm going to put them in. I have a friend who's, just in the past 4 years back, and she, at the age of 40, has taken a loan and gone on to do her master's at the Palo Alto University. And she has a 10-year-old, but that didn't stop her. So, I mean, it just came to my mind, that's one of the most inspiring things for me. We find our own creative spaces. हमें कहाँ अपने आप को invest करना है? Where do we want to put ourselves? And where you find that, that space, you have to claim it. It's not always going to come to you.
Yeah, exactly. And that is a mindset to pursue, and which I think is not always easy. But just to give a little example, since I studied business administration, it was I was at the office at work, and there's this meme which says this meeting could have been an email. So a lot of talking, but actually, we just could have just some bullet points and that's it. So
and you would be drawing. That's very
exactly.
You're drawing when the office meeting is happening.
Yes. So at those times it was like, well, I need to keep concentrated on what they're all saying, but it's not happening if I'm just sitting here and listening again to the same stories. So I'll start drawing. And I just introduced like people, I just need to draw, because otherwise I cannot concentrate and my mind will wander off. So just to stay here with you guys, this is for me also a medium to stay concentrated. And after, you can just enjoy my art. So that happened, and they accepted it as well, which I didn't really think would happen, but it did. So don't always, what I learned from that is that, don't always fill in the answers yet, but just be a little bit experimental. And again, just dive into it and be a little bit bold and propose.
Absolutely. And your henna art, in fact, tell us more about your henna art. I mean, it is so incredibly beautiful, and how it just takes all these forms and places. I mean, where all does it go, and how are you inspired to think like this, with your henna art?
Yes. Actually, honestly, sometimes I don't even know, because it just happens everywhere. But I'm at home, I'm sitting, and I'm seeing my hand, and it's like, okay, yeah, I can draw on this. But then I think it's very similar to many henna artists. Then you see something else, and it's, oh yeah, but this could also be nice with the henna. Or if you see a candle, then but this would also be nice. So there are very much assets in your neighborhood in which you can decorate. But for me, it was also, I never imagined that I could decorate the whole theater with Mehndi art. But that's also something that ideas are coming together, and I cannot take credit for all the ideas that I'm always pursuing, because they're also some molded together with other people. So the Mehndi in the theater, actually, it came from somebody asking me to make rangolis. So like, oh yes, you're a henna artist, but can you also make rangolis? Like, no, I'm sorry, I've never done that. But then you start thinking about, but what can I do? And if you want something beautiful on the ground, what can I do from my henna artist experience? So I just thought, okay, let's see all the pencils they have, or special markers, and you can easily wash it out, and let's just check and experiment with it. And then it turned out it was something really beautiful to apply in the theater. So coming from the art of henna, but using very different materials. So sometimes those things happen in different spaces, in collaboration with other people, and then you'll have the ideas together.
Fantastic, amazing. In fact, now again we have another artist, which is Manisha. I don't know if you just watched earlier. She is here to sing for you. And Manisha is from Germany, and she's not so far from you. I mean, physically, in terms of geographical location, from The Hague. And yes, Manisha wants to sing for you. Manisha, are you here? Yeah. Manisha wants to sing for you, and this is connected very much to your Mehndi art, the name of the song, and also to your Kathak dance school. So I will let Manisha surprise you.
Thank you so much, Jayaji. Hi, Anima. I'm from Stuttgart, Germany. We are so close here. So, आपका गेस आई थिंक हुआ होगा. तो ये सॉन्ग है आपके लिए. निंबुड़ा 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 निंबुड़ा, अरे ताजा ताजा छोटा छोटा निंबुड़ा लाई दो. निंबुड़ा 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 निंबुड़ा, अरे ताजा ताजा छोटा छोटा निंबुड़ा लाई दो. अरे लाई दो लाई दो लाई दो, अरे लाई दो लाई दो लाई दो नींबू लाई दो. जा खेत से हरियाला निंबुड़ा लाई दो. निंबुड़ा निंबुड़ा निंबू निंबुड़ा निंबुड़ा निंबू निंबुड़ा 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 निंबुड़ा, अरे ताजा ताजा छोटा छोटा
Wow, very beautiful. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy that you liked it. And I mean, people over here are all full of so much of music and dance. The music veranda is full of incredibly talented people. I'm sure they're all really holding themselves back from singing much more. But before they get into the mood of more singing, I'm very curious to ask you, when I read about you, I read in your website, you call yourself an artivist. So what is an artivist? To describe you, I think, अच्छा artist है, dancer है, writer है, ये artivist क्या है भाई? So you have to explain this a bit for us.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's the combination of two words of artist and activist. And so I consider the art that I am creating myself more activistic kind of art. So I'm very fighting. I'm fighting for space of non-Western art forms here, so in the Netherlands. And it's even in a recent report, it's also proven that the non-Western artists are valued differently or unevenly compared to Western artists. It's even that when they say who their inspiration is, for instance, if I would say that my Kata Guru is my inspiration, then it's not valued because they don't know about it, but they're not going to research into it or anything. So where your inspiration is from as a non-Western artist is not taken into consideration, which I think is from a decolonial perspective strange, and because you're already struggling with your heritage and you're already struggling with the history you're having, and then also not that being taken into account while you make your art. That is a very strange dynamic happening here. So that is one of the fights I'm engaging in. And another one is also my critique in how Dutch society functions. For instance, it was interesting to hear from Sayantani, that there is this idea of women having it better in the West, and I would think like, okay, well, I'm born here, and it's I acknowledge that it's also a privilege to be born here. But it doesn't mean that there's no struggle. And so I was happy that Sayantani was also saying, about the inner voices and the silent struggles that women have, and that she noticed them in the US as well. Here in the Netherlands, it's the same, because it's one of the countries in Europe where women are still largely paid less for the same jobs than as men. It's a country where there is a lot of institutional racism as well, but that is not acknowledged yet. There are even professors here who had to study in the US for the same subject because it was not doable here in the Netherlands. You could not even have a subject about racism. Only now those discussions are starting. And so I'm trying with art to show the mechanisms at work while people have, for instance, very stereotype ideas of what, for instance, India is. And one of my workshops is about the dupatta. And then it's actually, what is the dupatta telling you, instead of what are you telling with the dupatta? And so people have to wear it in a certain way and then tell their stories. And one of the outcomes in those workshops is, for instance, that, oh yeah, India can also be a very, I find it such a difficult word to say, hierarchical.
Hierarchy.
Yeah. Hierarchy. Yeah, it's quite a hierarchy society as well. So yeah, there's not just this one India where you go and do yoga, and no. But the same goes also for women in the West. There are also poor women here. There are women here who cannot even pay for their for the pads or for the menstruation. So there are all kinds of initiatives for that. On the other hand, there are also very rich women in India. So those generalizations that people have here, anywhere in the world, I'm trying to unravel it with performances and with dynamics, because it happens a lot unconsciously. And even I have them as well. But that's why I think that reflecting is such an important part, and it's also such an important part in art practice. And that's where I, as an artivist, try to make a change.
Fantastic. Artivism, such an amazing idea. Just the process of reflection. If we can all bring in a little bit of reflection into our daily lives, and then suddenly so many things about our identities, about our ideas, about our processes will start taking shape. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. And I think for that, one of the most crucial tools is the tools of these art forms, which are often considered very unnecessary, peripheral, again, in the main scheme of things, of life, of earning a living, etc. But I would say that yes, it is these art forms which help us to connect with ourselves. If you don't have a tool, how will you connect, right? Because now when you want to have inner calm, you need a chanting, you need a one of those yoga, you need a tool to grip your mind. And similarly, when you seek expression of the soul, of your identity, your voice, your environment, you need a tool. And I think it's so beautiful that you have found these multidimensional tools and how you're weaving them together to create these stories, whether it's Kathak and Henna and film and writing and teaching. Simply fantastic. I think today a lot of people would have been very deeply enriched by the idea of artivism as well, and thinking around it. Definitely good food for thought for so many people who would have definitely not come across the word. And today we have, in fact, one very curious person, and she's also a fantastic musician, and she's a trained classical vocalist. She's a Ivy educator. She's done research on connecting nature and music. So this fantastically talented musician, Mahashweta Das, is here, and she wants to dedicate to these two beautiful artists that we have talked to today, Sayanthini Das Gupta and Anima Tagore Raisen. She's very keen to dedicate a song and to connect with both of you. So here, over to Mahashweta.
Hi there. Hi, Music Veranda and Sayanthini and both Anima. I welcome you ladies with, very warmly. I mean, I am so enthralled. I was listening to you two ladies speaking with rapt attention, and I actually felt like a student getting so much enriched by the kind of intellectual talks. Anima, regarding you, I would like to say that, if I'm not mistaken, your name suggests to, goddess Durga's, it's one of the 108 names of Ma Durga, the multitasker Ma Durga, and how beautifully you have managed to become an artivist in terms of, you are a henna artist, and now you say that you're capable of doing rangoli, and then you're a dancer, and you're a painter, so many other things. So again, that's what creativity is all about. And Shantani, I mean, what what possibly I can say about you. When you spoke about selfishness, oh my God, selfishness is my favorite word because I associate this word with self-love. And just as I have been a student of philosophy as well, you must have had heard of this term called Aham Brahmasmi, that everything begins with you. So everything is, self love. And the best way to show self love is through creativity. And the more creative you are, the more we are in touch with the universe, which actually makes us a better person. So you want to spread happiness, you first make yourself happy. It's like, you forget about the world. Just forget, no jack shit is going to happen. You forget about the world. You just make the person happy whom you see every day on the mirror. And that's it. That's it. Shantanu, we don't have to do anything else. I mean, you spoke about food. Oh my God. I mean, it's like the quintessential Bengali dishes I got to hear after so many. I mean, I cannot cook so well, but given a chance, I would like to lap up everything. And yes, of course, the more we become creative, the more we are in touch with ourselves. We stay healthy, we stay young, we stay happy, and we spread happiness. Is it true or not? Do you agree? And Veranda is all about that.
Absolutely.
Jaya,
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anila, another thing I would like to say about Jaya, you I think forgot to mention, Jaya is an amazing photographer and a painter. Better than the painter, I don't know. I have not seen her paintings, but I have seen her photography skill and especially the kind of videos that she puts up on the Insta. So it's like, so all the three ladies, thank you so much for, gracing the veranda. And Jaya, thank you once again for bringing them over here. And this song goes for you, all three of you. ए जिंदगी गले लगा ले, ए जिंदगी गले लगा ले, हमने भी तेरे हर एक गम को गले से लगाया है ना, ए जिंदगी गले लगा ले, ए जिंदगी गले लगा ले, हमने जमाने से छुपके जमाने से पलकों के पर्दे में घर भर लिया, तेरा सहारा मिल गया है जिंदगी. This is the creativity that we take the sahara of creativity. तेरा सहारा मिल गया है जिंदगी. La 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 la. तेरा सहारा मिल गया है जिंदगी, ए जिंदगी गले लगा ले, ए जिंदगी गले लगा ले, हमने भी तेरे हर एक गम को गले से लगाया है ना, ला 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 ला, हो गले लगा ले, हाँ गले लगा ले. Thank you so much. And Manisha, your song was so beautiful, especially the Nimuda Nimuda. It was really foot tapping. We all felt like dancing. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Mahashweta. With that, I think we were all so flowing, flowing with all the beautiful positive vibrations. And definitely, we all need the Sahara. We all need the little bit of hand holding.
It's all about the go with the flow, right? So we are all flowing.
Yes,
it's all about go with the flow.
Yes, we're all flowing and we are enjoying the moment. And thank you so much for making this so beautiful. And with this, we would like to conclude our wonderful episode with two fantastic ladies, two fantastic creators. And it's so much food for inspiration tonight, so much inspiration to find ourselves, to find our voices, to calm ourselves down, to be able to find a dialogue with the self, अपने आप के साथ, स्वयं के साथ, एक छोटा सा dialogue, एक छोटा सा conversation, which we can have every day. And that's why I feel all artistic practices are very beautiful, because वो एक dialogue ही बनाती हैं, एक conversation बनाती हैं खुद के साथ, और खुद के साथ जब हम conversation बनाते हैं तो we are happier people, we enrich ourselves and we enrich the world around us. So with that end, we would like to thank you all for being with us on this show at this point, and thank you, Anila, thank you to the whole team of Music Veranda. You gave us a veranda to talk about our hearts, to talk about our journeys, and we hope that tonight everybody's creativity is a wee bit heightened. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Jaya. It's been a great show, like inspiration all across, and बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, बहुत मजा आया. And I'm just reminded of a quote by Gandhi ji, who says that you can make change through gentle ways, and that is what all of you are doing. In your own gentle ways, you are making the change to the world. So beautiful, so awesome. Thank you so very much, everyone who has been watching this show, and there's so much to learn. I think I'm going to watch over again and again and again to actually absorb this show. And I would request that we should be able to talk to our beautiful guests somewhat, like this has been too short a time to understand and decode their great works. So we will actually request कि कभी फिर से वो लोग हमें join करें और हमें अपने बारे में बताएं. So thank you very much, and thank you सभी Facebook viewers को जिन्होंने हमारा वरांडा का ये शो देखा, and I'm sure everybody is going to be now more creative. Thank you everyone, and as our ritual, we will end this show by a lovely song from Deeptendu Ahuja. Over to you, Deeptendu. Bye. Thank you, Jaya, so much. Thank you. Bye.
All right. So, a song I'd just like to dedicate this song to all the wonderful guests present here at Music Veranda. So grateful to be listening to the thoughts of a dancer, two dancers actually, and a writer. So here goes. This song is Ori Chiraiya. अगर आप लोग हिंदी गाने फॉलो करते हैं तो सत्यमेव जयते करके एक शो आया था आमिर खान जी का, उसमें स्वानंद किरकिरे आए थे एज अ गेस्ट एक शो में. ही इज अ लिरिसिस्ट एंड अ सिंगर, वेरी फेमस, और उन्हीं का एक गाना है ओरी चिरैया. सो डेडिकेटेड टू द वंडरफुल वुमेन इन दिस ग्रुप. Well, why just women? The entire mankind. And why just mankind? All the womankind. Oh my God, it's getting too confusing. So let's go.
Deeptendu, I
Yeah.
just want to interrupt. I just, a special gratitude to Jaya ji. He has worked very hard to curate this show. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, over to you, Deeptendu.
All right, here goes. ओरी चिड़ैया नन्ही सी चिड़िया अंगना में फिर आ जा रे. ओरी चिड़ैया नन्ही सी चिड़िया अंगना में फिर आ जा रे. अंधियारा है घना और लहू से सना, किरणों के तिनके अंबर से चुनके अंगना में फिर आ जा रे. हमने तुझ पे हजारों सितम है किए, हमने तुझ पे जहां भर के जुल्म किए, हमने सोचा नहीं तू जोड़ जाएगी ये ज़मीं तेरे बिन सूनी रह जाएगी. किसके दम पे सजेगा अंगना मेरा. ओरी चिड़ैया नन्ही सी चिड़िया अंगना में फिर आ जा रे. All right, thank you.